So, I published this video 2 days ago about Joe Biden announcing this behemoth of a military budget, $753 billion, right? And of course, I got a bunch of trolls coming in and saying, you're not taking into consideration his announcement that the United States is going to leave Afghanistan. Really? Which announcement? The one from 2 decades ago? From a decade ago? Which one? Because I've heard this this lie plenty of times. So the Biden administration, yes, they've announced that they're going to be leaving Afghanistan by September 11th, right? And well, there's a lot to say here. There's a lot to say here, especially given the fact that, again, Joe Biden has said this in 2012, October 2012. He said, we will leave in 2014. Well, it's 2021 now. You're still there. You have not left. You have not left. You're not going anywhere, are you? And, the thing is that the peace deal that was signed in Doha, in Qatar, between the Americans and the Taliban, it stipulates that within 14 months, meaning May 1st of this year, they have to leave. The United States has to leave. Let me show you the exact text, okay? So this was signed, again, look, you can see the date, February 29th, 2020. So this was under Trump. And it says that the United States is committed to withdraw from Afghanistan all military forces of the United States, its allies, and coalition partners, including all non-diplomatic civilian personnel, private security contractors, trainers, advisors, everything, yada, yada, within 14 months. 14 months, that's May 1st. What Biden is doing now, he's saying September 11th. Okay, I don't know what, he's chosen that date as some kind of symbolism, but it's still a violation of the peace deal, right? The Taliban have said that if the United States does not respect the deadline, if they're not out May 1st, which is in 2 weeks, that they are not returning to talks, there's no more negotiations or diplomacy, and that they will step up attacks, right? And I mean, as soon as I saw this, I was like, man, he knows that. Biden knows this crap. They know that the Taliban are going to be pissed off and they're going to ramp up attacks, resisting occupation effectively, right? That's not to say that the Taliban are, angels themselves, but that's what the deal is. And that's what they've said. And Biden knows that and insists on staying in Afghanistan. And you know that they're just going to use this as an excuse to be like, oh, look, the security situation is so bad. And, they did this unforgivable thing. Now we have to stay there. We can't leave. Right? That's one possible outcome. I'd love to be proved wrong. I'd love to actually see the United States finally get out, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I really don't. When you look at the invasion of Afghanistan, right? We all know this was in fall of 2001. What a lot of people don't realize is that the first forces inside of Afghanistan were actually CIA, right? It wasn't like Iraq. I mean, yes, there are many similarities, but I mean, the invasion, it wasn't like you saw with, hordes of tanks, of British tanks and American tanks going in with the Marines. It wasn't like that, right? They came in bit by bit and you had a combination of different forces. This is one of the forces that was spearheading the invasion of Afghanistan. This is part of the CIA, right? The Directorate of Operations. It's like a paramilitary wing of the CIA. They were in first, okay? They were some of the first to get in there. And Biden, when he's saying that they're going to leave by September 11th, I mean, is he including the CIA spooks? Is he including the private contractors? Are those also leaving with him? We don't know. We don't know. I want to show you this from CNN over here. This is from March 29th, just a few weeks ago. And I'll read you the headline. It says, the Pentagon could open itself to costly litigation from contractors if the United States pulls out of Afghanistan this year. And they're saying that despite the signing of the Doha Agreement last February that called for a full drawdown of U.S. troops and personnel from Afghanistan by May 1st, the Department of Defense issued nearly $1 billion in contracts to 17 different companies related to work in Afghanistan past the withdrawal date. There are currently some 18,000 contractors in the country, of which 6,350 are American citizens. So, this includes, of course, private mercenaries and so on. And, Trump one of the stipulations of the deal was that there would be a drawdown to, what is it, 2,500 now? Yeah. So he reduced it from over 10,000 to 2,500 troops. But no one is talking about the contractors, which far outnumber the troops, right? So this is, again, something that I talk about often, is that, you know, the US has 800 military bases around the world, and it has, you know, effectively an empire spread out across the globe. But at the same time, you know, we're talking about the conventional armed forces. At the same time, you still have the private contractors. You have, you know, things like formerly known as Blackwater. Now I think it's Academy. And they also have a Silver Corps, which tried to do that coup in Venezuela. You have a shadow army of special forces, of CIA spies, right? And paramilitary wings. And of course, the private contractors. Are they also getting out? We don't know. It says so in the deal, but Biden isn't following the deal. So we don't know, right? We don't know. That's not clear. That's not clear. I feel like he's just rebranding the occupation. I think that's what it's about, right? So keep in mind, you got 2,500 US troops in Afghanistan now, but 18,000 contractors. And they're saying that, let me just show you these deals, right? How much they're worth, just so you can get an idea. So on March 12th, exactly 50 days before the May 1st deadline, the Defense Department signed a contract with Textron Systems Corp for $9.7 million. Okay? And this extends to March 2022, next year. They signed, one day earlier, they signed another contract with Salient Federal Services for $25 million. And that's also until March 2022. Insane, right? And then here, with two security contracts totaling $68.2 million, right? This is with Aegis Defense Services. These have completion dates in 2023 and early 2026. I mean, this is obscene. But can we really put it past them? I don't think so. Look, they told us last decade they'd be fucking leaving. They're still there. This was when he was vice president, when Barack Obama was president, right? And do you remember what Obama did? He went and sent an additional 30,000 troops to Afghanistan, right? That was just one deployment where he was like, I'm sending 30,000 in one go. And I think, if I recall correctly, you had about 100,000 troops. It's in this article. Let me pull that up to you. Yeah, here we go. So keep in mind, this is, again, under Biden and Obama, right? At the height of the Afghanistan troop surge between 2011 and 2012, there were 99,800 U.S. service members in the country and 117,000 contractors. It's an occupation. It's an occupation. So I just want to drive home one point with all this, right? By the way, keep in mind, a lot of these contracts, they were signed under Trump, right? So don't think that Trump is some angel or something because, oh, he signed a peace deal. No. That guy, if he wanted to, he could have pulled everything out. Of course, it's not up to him only. You have other people with huge interests. He doesn't really run the military-industrial complex, but he catered to them, right? The vast majority of the contracts, $821.2 million, were signed under the Trump administration, which began drawing down the number of troops very quickly. So it's like smoke and mirrors, right? Oh, okay, well, I'll limit the number of troops, but I'm going to sign these contracts, you know, that are going to make sure the occupation continues. And I just want to drive home one point, all of this. This article is amazing. They're straight up telling you to your face, they're telling you to your face that this is all about imperialism and it's all about money. They're not saying that, oh, you know, Afghanistan is a sovereign country. They have a right to self-determination. We are occupiers. We need to leave. Just for the principle that they are a free sovereign nation. No. We signed contracts. This is about business. Oh, we can't let down these contractors. Holy shit. Like they're just straight up telling you to your face. It's about money. It's about fucking contracts with the Defense Department. They're straight up telling you. And it just goes over people's heads, right? What an overt admission that this is all about money. I love it. I love some honest journalism, right? It's like they just put it in front of you. I just wish they connected the dots, right? I just wish they connected the dots. And so, yeah, just to echo what I told you before, you know, this is from 28th of March, right? Taliban have told Biden violation of the Doha peace deal will prolong violence. right? So a Taliban spokesman says violation of the Doha deal will bring new problems and that the responsibility will be on those who breach the agreement. Fair enough? Fair enough, right? I think they're spelling it out pretty clear. And once again, this is just like with, obviously the Taliban are not comparable to, Iran, but what's comparable here is the United States. They can't be trusted for diplomacy, right? They say one thing and then they do another. This is not acceptable that, a new president came in and now he has to renege on a landmark agreement like that. Whether it's the Iran nuclear deal or it's the Doha peace deal, this is obscene, right? Like, what does that mean? You just wipe your ass with anything the United States signs because it's only worth, what is it, the length of your term? What kind of an agreement is that? What kind of an agreement is that? So, over here, right? Just also last week, this is from 7th of April. Biden also announced that there's going to be an Iraq troop withdrawal, but without a timeline. Again, how convenient, right? Let's just keep extending this, just like in Afghanistan, endlessly until, it's been 5 centuries. And there's no timeline here, but they said that they're going to move all remaining combat forces from Iraq. And they even say in the article that this is the second time, right? Because Obama, he pulled out all these troops. And again, what they don't tell you is that because Biden brags about this, they pulled out the ones that were, I think, on combat deployment, but they still left behind thousands of troops to, of course, continue the occupation, right? Running the Iraqi armed forces and, all the CIA spooks, of course. And not to mention the fact that you have the U.S. embassy in Baghdad, which in of itself it's a military base. It's the largest embassy in the world. It's the size of Vatican City. I'm not exaggerating. It's really that size. That's not an embassy. That's a fucking base, right? The Grayzone. So they're still in occupation, right? And if you can just come back and forth as you please, I mean, what kind of a withdrawal is that? That's absurd. But, one thing that I want to point out over here, and I think this is the real story. This is the real story, which a lot of people are not. I've seen no one mention this except one person, surprisingly. And they did this with Jen Psaki, who's the White House spokesperson, right? So here you go. So again, we've talked about this before, right? The legal justification in the United States, it's the wars are still illegal, but in the United States, Congress, they passed the authorization for the use of military force in 2001, right? This was the legal template that allowed Bush to invade Afghanistan, according to the U.S. Congress, not according to international law. And same thing with Iraq, and same thing with everything, all of the other bombings that they've done. My point, Biden is saying, allegedly, he's going to leave Afghanistan. What about the AUMF? Is that going to? Because the AUMF, all right, does not even say Afghanistan. It does not even say Al-Qaeda. All it says here, all right, is that they're going to go after, I'm trying to find you the exact quote, right? The people responsible for 9/11. So the president is authorized to use all necessary and appropriate force against those nations, organizations, or persons he determines planned, authorized, committed, or aided the terrorist attacks that occurred on September 11th, 2001, or harbored such organizations or persons in order to prevent any future acts of international terrorism against the U.S. by nations, organizations, or persons. It doesn't even say Afghanistan. It doesn't say Taliban. It doesn't say Al-Qaeda, nothing. And this is why they've been going and bombing any country they like, right? They've used this, according to the Congress, according to their own research. I mean, it's public record, right? They've used this to bomb and invade and meddle in 19 other countries: Syria, Iraq, Libya, Yemen, Djibouti, Somalia, Afghanistan, Pakistan. I mean, it's all there. And this is the legal template. Are they going to repeal it? Are you going to repeal it? We don't know. We don't know. You see how fucking sneaky these bastards are? Do you see how sneaky they are? You can't trust them an inch. You can't trust them an inch. So I'm trying to find you the exact quote over here from the press briefing. Here we go. So again, this is from yesterday. All right. And someone thankfully asked, Secondly, was there any discussion, as the president was talking about this, to make any sort of call to Congress to revisit an AUMF once American troops are out of Afghanistan? Okay, and Psaki says, well, the president currently certainly supports revisiting, revising, taking a look at the AUMF. We put out a statement several weeks ago about that. That remains the case. That remains his point of view, and we look forward to working with leaders in Congress to do exactly that. And then reporter says, but he's not like tying the troop withdrawal to a new AUMF. No, he's not tying the troop withdrawal, but he is something he would like to see move forward. That's it. That's all we had yesterday about that. I mean, again, it's such a vague answer. It doesn't really clear anything up. And even after Biden bombed Syria, you had Senators Tim Kaine and Young put forward this legislation to repeal the AUMF of 2002 and 1991 for Iraq. But they didn't make any mention of this one, the 2001, which is their blank check, right? Any U.S. president comes in, he takes this and he's like, yo, I'm going to go bomb this country. Why? Because, they're helping Al-Qaeda. Oh, it's true? Oh, yeah, look at our intelligence reports, which are all fabricated. This is their blank check. And of course, again, this is illegal international law. This AUMF over here, right? This authorization for the use of military force from the U.S. Congress, yeah? You can wipe your ass with it. It has no basis in international law. It's a piece of toilet paper. This means nothing to the rest of the world. This is a piece of shit. This is just the United States justification for itself as to why it's drone striking, murdering, colonizing, bombing, carpet bombing, oppressing millions and millions and millions and millions of people around the globe for decades. That's all it is. It's a self-made law to justify genocide and terrorism. That's what it is. It's not fighting terrorism. This is terrorism. That's all it's done. It's export suffering across the globe, and displacement and death. That's all it's done. So unless I see something in regards to that, I don't take any of this seriously. And the main thing that they're talking about now on Tuesday, right? So just yesterday. Take a look at this. Now you know why. Now you know why they're shifting their focus. All right. So this from NPR. Intelligence chiefs say China and Russia are the biggest threats to the United States. Oh, how convenient. And that's Avril Haines. She's the director of national intelligence now. She is a veteran, of course, from the Obama days. She was responsible in writing the legal framework for the drone program and justifying that. She's a terrorist, as far as I'm concerned, and the world is concerned. So, she, of course, presents this report to the Senate, and she says that we have to look out for China. We have to look out for Russia. And it's so interesting how even inside of the report, they're saying things like, Iran has no intention to go to war with the U.S., but they're still a threat. Again, it's like when she also issued the other report about election interference, right? And there was they cited Venezuela in it. And they're saying that, look, Venezuela doesn't have the means to interfere in our elections or our politics, but they're not on good terms since the Trump administration. And if Maduro wanted to, we bet he would. Yeah, okay, but that's not proof of anything. Why are they in this report? They just make shit up and the media run with it. No one questions that. They just report this as fact. They just copy paste it. Look, this is what the report says, and we're not going to question any of it. This is how you know you don't have a free media. This is fucking state media. Right? So my job is to go through it and translate and debunk the bullshit for you. I have to shovel through it and tell you what it actually means because they're not doing it. So, of course, right? China's the threat now. And, this is their annual threat assessment, right? Because the United States always needs threats. So every year it comes up with this threat assessment to justify the outrageous military expenditure that it undertakes so that, people in the military industrial complex, Raytheon at Lockheed Martin, at Northrop, at Halliburton, right? Halliburton as well can make money. That's what it's all about. And, they, of course, talk about, again, it's so interesting how they try to portray China's Belt and Road Initiative and its economic growth as a threat. That's on you, honestly. If China is outgrowing you economically, that doesn't mean it's a threat. That just means they're not spending all their money on killing people. So that's kind of your fault. right? That's kind of your fault. So, all this to say that, the United States is shifting its focus on China now in this new Cold War. Of course, we already knew that. I want to show you another thing over here, right? So this is from Liz Cheney. Take a look at what she had to say about, the withdrawal.
I also want to just say a word about Afghanistan. President Biden announced that he will be withdrawing forces from Afghanistan. I understand he's making a speech this afternoon by a date certain. First of all, any withdrawal of forces based on a political timeline, and he has said, as I understand it, that this will not be based on conditions on the ground. Any withdrawal of forces that is not based on conditions on the ground puts American security at risk.
Wow.
I also want to just say.
So for some reason I couldn't hear that, but I think you guys were able to hear it. I mean, look who's talking, honestly, right? For those of you who don't know who Liz Cheney is, lucky you. But her father, Dick Cheney, he was vice president under Bush, right? Again, Dick Cheney, Rumsfeld, Colin Powell, all of them, they've been in government decades before that. But they were part of the Bush administration. They started the war in Afghanistan. Yeah. And Dick Cheney, he was CEO of Halliburton. Halliburton is this huge multinational, this American company that deals in oil. They've done tons of contracts for the military, right? They're a private military contractor. And they made billions, thanks to the wars, especially when it comes to oil in Iraq. And even what, Dick Cheney becoming vice president, the guy kept his stocks. He claims he doesn't have any. No, he got money off of that. He got rich off of that. And of course, Halliburton made tons of money from the Iraq War, which he and Bush started. And it's no surprise that his daughter comes along now, who is also a warmonger, and says that, we have to continue this 20-year conflict, the longest war in U.S. history because of America's security. Bitch, your father was saying that same shit. Your crooked ass father was saying the same shit 20 years ago. He's a fucking liar. You have zero credibility. Who the fuck are you? They're making money. It's a racket. These motherfuckers are criminals. It's a mafia. There is no security risk. There is no threat. Even if you look at the Taliban, even if you look at the Mujahideen, right, who went on to form Al-Qaeda, who armed them? Who trained these people? It's you. That's the United States. You brought this onto yourself. You paid their fucking salaries. You trained them. You gave them the weapons. Not Mozambique, not Syria. That was you. So don't come here and tell me about security when you are the security threat. You just make up these boogeymen, right, in order to justify wars. And who profits from these wars? Oh, your daddy's company. How fucking convenient. How convenient. What a colossal coincidence. What an astronomical chance that your father, and his friends stand to profit from these wars. How crazy. No. I cannot believe that these people have a shred of credibility, that no one even calls this out. Doesn't your dad have ties to, the private military contractors that are in Afghanistan? No one asks this. It's just let her speak, whatever. It's nuts. It's nuts. So they have to keep coming up with these boogeymen, right? They either create the threats themselves, like ISIS, like Al-Qaeda, or, they start saying look, China, they're in competition with us. How dare they have economic growth and not spend their money on bombing people and try to enter into, a multilateral economic cooperations. How dare they? They're a threat. So, now we have to focus all our energy on them. And we need $753 billion for that. I cannot with these people, man. I cannot believe that this motherfucker's daughter, that piece of shit, his daughter is here and still pushing his propaganda. Have we learned nothing as a species? These people should be in jail. They should be in jail. Really, they should be in jail. They've carried out crimes against humanity. They're the most despicable of criminals on the face of the planet. They really are. And, you're seeing things, of course, I showed you the other day, there was a CNN article, a CNN headline talking about how the United States has to stay in Afghanistan because of women's rights. Like all of a sudden they care about women after they've been killing and displacing millions of them. And, you know, of course, now you have people like, hold on, I'm trying to pull this up for you so you can take a look. You know, you have people like Max Boot, right? Who's also pushing the same narrative that, you know, the United States, we have to stay there because if we leave, oh God, just wait and see what happens. All the progress we made is going to be lost. What progress? Wait, show me your progress. Like, it's such an oxymoron, right? Because there's such a contradiction because they're trying to tell you that all their progress is going to be lost. And then at the same time, they argue that the situation is so unstable, they can't leave. Otherwise, the country will plunge into chaos. Well, what fucking progress have you achieved then? If the country is about to plunge into chaos. Which one is it? You pick a lie and stick with the lie. No, they want both lies. And of course, here's a third one, right? So they're going to say that, this is Max Boot. It says, oh, the US is abandoning all the girls going to school, all the women in the workforce, all the brave soldiers fighting the Taliban, all the young entrepreneurs starting businesses, all the government officials trying to build a fragile democracy. No, you're not abandoning them. You're stopping an occupation. Like, you know, this is like someone breaking into your house and then killing your family and saying that, look, you see, I'm keeping your girl safe. I can't leave. What? Fuck off. Like, who are you? It's none of your goddamn business. And again, that's not to say the Taliban are not terrible in their own right. Totally. But like, what is this notion that, you know, Afghan society depends on the white man, right? The white man, if we leave, look at these savages. They won't be able to continue without us. We like, how fucking racist are these people? They're still stuck in that colonial mentality. They just frame it in a new way, right? It's woke imperialism. Like, again, it's part of this whole Rainbow Coalition death cult, right? Oh no, we're not in Afghanistan to make money, or to make trillions and billions and, you know, occupy these people and deny them their right to self-determination and, you know, turn their country into a military base. No, it's about women's rights. Who buys this shit? Who believes this? Who believes this? And, you know, one thing that Rania posted on Twitter, which I think it just sums this up so perfectly, man. You know, here, let me show this to you. So Rania wrote on Twitter, my favorite kind of person is the one who says we have to stay in Afghanistan to protect women from the Taliban, but who also spent the last decade insisting that a bunch of crazy insurgents with the same ideology as the Taliban should replace Bashar al-Assad in Syria. Wow. She nailed it, man. That's exactly what's going on, right? Like, they're so afraid of how women will be treated by these radicals, by the Taliban in Afghanistan. But in Syria, oh no, it's totally fine. Like, let Jaish al-Islam, Jabhat al-Nusra, and Faylaq al-Sham, and Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, and all your 50 flavors of jihad. I really can't keep up. Yeah, sure, let them just take over. They totally treat women fine. You know, they're like, it's unbelievable. Like, it just shows you again how hypocritical they are, and how when it suits them, they're totally fine with working with forces who oppress women, right? You had James Jeffrey, former envoy to Syria, admitting that Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, is an asset to America in northwestern Syria, in Idlib. Go look at how women are treated there. Yeah? Fucking hypocrites, man. Goddamn hypocrites. All right? And the media, they just go along with it. They're going to find every excuse under the sun to continue this occupation. All right? So anyway, you know, I think they're lying. Can you blame me? Motherfucker, look at this. How can you look at this and tell me that, you know, they're not lying? Joe Biden in 2012 saying, oh, we'll leave in 2014. How many times have we heard this? How can you look at that and tell me they're not lying? So I think they're lying, and if they really do withdraw all troops, they're still going to leave the AOMF in place, the 2001 authorization for the use of military force, which is their blank check to go back into Afghanistan. You know, they already have that congressional approval, and then of course they're trying to refocus. Sorry, excuse me. They're going to keep CIA spooks in there. I think that's a certainty, 100%. And they don't have to tell you about that either. Of course, they're not going to tell you. So they're going to keep the CIA spooks, the special forces, the private contractors. They're going to keep them. So it's still an occupation. It's just, they're just rebranding it. And then at the same time, they're also trying to refocus their energy on China, right? China's now the new threat. The United States needs the boogeyman. They need that to make money. That's what it's all about. It's what it's always been.